Oh, yeah. StreamYard is letting me know that I'm live. Now I got to wait for YouTube to let you know that I'm live. And then we can officially begin another episode of VypDrive. We're back. We're live. We're in the building. We are on episode 120. God. Okay, YouTube just sent out the notification. So now all of you all know that we're live. So I will give you guys a couple of minutes to file in. And yeah, this is episode 120, which is kind of bananas because I feel like it was just yesterday we were on episode 100 with Justine, and now we're 20 more episodes deep into the podcast. Like, damn, time flies, man. Time flies. But here we are, episode 120. We got Ben in the building. I see Alex Jackson. I see Tech Gear Talk. I see Tech for Your Needs. I see Janosis. How y'all doing? Marvin Wallace, Gabriel Black. I saw Gabriel Black on the Tech Fights yesterday. Nicely done, nicely done. And all right, we got people filing in. We got Kenny himself. What's up? What's up? Okay, we got 10 people in. People know the procedures. This thing was scheduled, so if you want to watch, you're probably here, and if you don't want to watch, you're probably not here. So let me take this drink here. We can go ahead and get this party started. All right. Woo. There we go. JMR trying to mess me up. I ain't got time for all that. All right. Are we back? I think we're back. Okay. JMR being dumb, but we're back. All right, cool. Woo. So, this is VypDrive episode 120. And this is going to be a good one. We got one of the UK's most versatile tech creators on deck. The man has a smooth accent, and he knows a lot about what he speaks. He covers a wide range of tech. He's here. He's coming up next on VypDrive, which starts now. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, and welcome back to another episode of VypDrive. This is the podcast about tech, hosted by the man about tech. And today we have one of the best tech creators out of the UK coming to the podcast. The man has a smooth accent. He covers all type of tech from consoles to cameras to phones. He literally covers the whole gamut of technology. This dude has been doing it a while. Let's bring in Ben, Mr. Lover of Tech himself. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, what's good, people? Thank you. As hyped and well introduced as always, Mr. Vipes. Thank you for having me on the show.
You know how we do. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate the time, man.
No, thanks for having me. It's good. Been waiting for this.
No doubt. So, first question I ask every first time guest to the podcast.
Go on.
You know where I'm going?
Go on.
You to YouTube.
I just didn't have anyone to really flex my tech knowledge with in my real life. Yeah, it's like that, you know, because you're like the cool guy nerd, and then you can't really drop your expression to anyone because no one can really relate. You know, so it's like the platform of YouTube was just there, and it's like, you know, it's about time you just pull the trigger, man. And I think Tuesday I'm going to do something funny. Tuesday will be exactly 4 years since I uploaded my first video.
Wow.
So I'm going to promo my first video. I'm giving you an exclusive. I'm going to promo my first video for everyone to watch again.
Okay.
Take it back.
4 years on the platform. Wow. And you just recently passed 6,000 subscribers. So you are
man.
Congratulations on that, man.
No, I appreciate that.
So it's been 4 years. It's been 4 years since you've been on the platform. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on what has your experience like been on as being a content creator on YouTube? What have been some of like your best experiences from being a creator?
The best part for me has been the tech events. like off head, if I can just instinctively just think of like what has been the best experience going to tech events, and I've missed that this year because of obviously the situation and what's going on. I've missed going to tech events, man. The experience, linking with other people, because in its own good and bad way, doing YouTube, it's a very, very lonely place. You know, there's so much more self-motivation that you need to have, that when you get a chance to link with other people that relate to you, it's such a refreshing experience. And because obviously I live in the nation capital of London in UK, most, if not all, the tech events get held in London. So it was always easy for me to get to. So I miss that. I miss that a lot more than I actually think. So that was like, you know, overall some of the best experiences that come to mind. Another one probably to add is just figuring out what I like in the creative process. You know, you see a lot of people that fall into different traps of, not traps, but they prefer this side of it, that side of it, that side of it. Kind of like figuring out for yourself who you are in the creative process, and just embracing and owning that, and not being too scared to own that, and not trying to emulate someone else, but just finding who you are in your creative process. And when you do, how much it makes it more fun. So yeah, man, I'll say that.
No doubt, man. That's one of the big things about coming onto the platform and being a creator, trying to find your own identity, your own self, because we always say, don't come on here trying to copy somebody else, because you can't be better than the original. Why would anybody watch you when they could watch the original? So it's definitely cool that you say that, trying to have that self-discovery, trying to figure out who you are as a creator and what like doing best, and then trying to relay that joy and that passion to your audience. I mean, that's cool, man. That's a good time right there, definitely. So how did you get into tech though? Because obviously you said that you came onto YouTube to flex your tech knowledge, but where did your love of tech come from?
So a little bit of background for me. I wasn't actually born in the UK. So I'm Ghanaian. I'm from Ghana, born, part raised Ghanaian. I still speak one of the native tongues, Fanti. So I'm proud Ghanaian, like African born and bred. So it's like I came to UK when I was like 8-9 years old, around 1998. So there's this saying that they give you back home, and I was more of a gamer, because obviously back then the access to technology, especially back in Ghana, was nowhere near as much as the Western world. It's not that we didn't have access, but it's just nowhere near the level. And any Ghanaians that are out there, there's this term that was given me, it's called game anyen. So it's like a game witch or a game wizard.
Wow.
That's the term that was given to me, because I was naturally just inclined to it. Like I knew I was good at gaming. I loved gaming. I was drawn to it, but I was more drawn to it from the technical aspects of it. So one of the games that really stuck to me was the original Mortal Kombat. So if anyone's ever watched the behind the scenes of how the motion capture was captured for the original Mortal Kombat game, it looked like real people. If you go back to Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, it looks like real people that you're playing with, but in like a very 8-bit pixelated way. That tripped me. That was my first vivid memory of, yo, like you can actually control real people. That's what my brain kept telling me. From then, it was like, yo, it was uphill or downhill from there, call it whatever. So that's my first genesis of what got me into tech. It was actually through gaming, but it wasn't just for the sake of, I'm playing games. My mind was more tripped at feeling like I'm controlling real people, like what allows or what enables that level of technology to allow that to happen. Like that's crazy, you know? So yeah, man, that's the best way I can describe it.
No doubt, man. Motion capture technology has come a long way since the MK days. Definitely. I mean, I think we're more digital with CGI and stuff these days, but there is still some motion capture technology being done out there. So yeah, it's come a long way. So if we look at your video catalog, you don't have like a particular niche per se. You cover a wide range of tech. Even in the intro, I called you one of the most versatile tech creators over there in the UK.
Appreciate that, man.
I'm curious, as you know, on YouTube, trying to grow on YouTube, the algorithm prefers if we niche down, if we pick a particular subject area and then keep hammering it, that's usually the way to grow on YouTube. But obviously you don't do that. So my question is, have you ever thought about maybe just like honing in on a particular subject area of tech? Or are you just like, I don't care about that, I'm just going to cover what I love?
I'm so glad you've dropped this question. It's one of my biggest conflicts as of recently, most. So what if I give a bit of background story? a lot of people think I'm a lover of tech. I'm actually not. So I'm going to drop some knowledge and just describe things, right?
Wait, what?
I'm not lover of tech. So whenever you hear my intros, I always say what? Ben from Lover of Tech. My whole consensus of what I want Lover of Tech to be potentially in the future is a platform where if other people join, you could be Carl from Lover of Tech. You could be John from Lover of Tech. If the brand and my platform grows to be something more, I don't want it to just be about me. I want it to be people that share either the same or more of the same passion of tech that I have. So that if they want to join it, they can come with that same intro of, yo, this from Lover of Tech, you see. So that's kind of like if someone calls me Lover of Tech, I embrace it because I know that's who I am. I am a lover of technology, period. And being a lover of technology, it's not a lover of mobile tech, a lover of this tech. It's just a lover of technology, you see. But the conflicting part of it is that my channel is more smartphone based. It is. So I do have a specific niche. And that specific niche is more based on the fact that my working history, most of my working history is based in mobile phone telecommunications. So it's the technology that I had the most access to at the least expense. So you could call that my main niche. But as coming into YouTube, my growth and my growth and understanding and appreciation for other sides of technology grew through. You see, especially as of recently, with the camera industry, I'm enjoying a lot more of what's happening in the camera industry than I am in a smartphone industry. Does it mean I don't like the smartphone industry? I think I'm still one of only few people that don't find smartphones boring. I know there's this general terminology around, hey, smartphones have peaked. They're not interesting. They're boring out. I'm not one of those people. I see. That's why if you're seeing a lot of my videos now, there's a lot more topic talking head video discussions that I'm doing around smartphones because I have a lot to still say there, you know, in its current state, in its future state, and just as news happens live as it goes, right?
Right.
So the niche is mainly smartphones, but that's more because I've got access to that more readily than any of the tech devices, you know? So the conflicting part is that me knowing that at the back of my mind that I should niche down on that, and I know that will help the channel grow. I've seen the statistics. I know videos that I do, like comparison videos for battery charging, camera comparison videos, smartphone reviews, and all of those things. They're what really catapult the channel. It still does, you know. And what's great is that at least those type of videos I enjoy doing, because one place that I hate being in is doing something for the sake of growth, but you know, deep down, you don't enjoy making it. I don't want to ever fall into that place where I am purely doing it for the numbers, for the views, and I know that it gets me the traction, but it's a chore. There's no joy for me to do it. So I'm glad those things that make the channel grow, I still enjoy doing it equally the same, if not more than I ever did before. But then it's like there's this conflict of all these other things I'm trying to integrate into the channel. Is it hurting the channel or is it going to help it grow? And a part of me doesn't want to branch out and start again, but I know maybe if I do, it might be the safer option. It's such a conflicting. It's a big conflict that I have right now. Not gonna lie.
That is well put, man. I think that's the conflict that most of us as creators, especially those of us that love all of tech, we have the same conflict. Like we want to cover everything. I want to cover everything, but I've learned over my 2+ years doing this that if I want to grow a channel, then I need to be more niche focused, which is why I switched over to doing Apple video. But again, you don't want to just be put and pigeonholed into a box because you love all the tech. So I can definitely relate to your struggle because I've lived it and am living it myself. But it's just weird that YouTube and its algorithm paints us in this corner. And if we don't stick to the corner, then I mean, it's just bad for your channel. But listen, man, listen, YouTube. Nobody puts baby in the corner, baby. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
And for real, it's the biggest thing I hate. And people that don't understand that the algorithm is a real thing, I don't want to accept it. I will explain one of the aspects of the algorithm that really does exist. So I knew this, but I didn't realize it was such a problem. So subscription versus notification bell. That's probably a video I might even do on, right? So there's a guy called Spencer Sakurai. He's in the filmmaking side of things. I subscribe to his channel, but I didn't, instinctively when you subscribe to certain people, you don't really put the notification bell on. And how YouTube puts videos on your feed is there's videos that show on your feed or videos that show in your notification inbox, or sometimes they show in both, right? Or some it's one or the other. So he posted a video, and funny enough, I'd watched the video because he promoted it on Twitter. Again, it's very important to be active on Twitter. You get a lot of stuff. So I watched the video through Twitter, watched it, did whatever. I got the notification come on my phone 5 days later. And I was like, what? So when I saw that notification, I took a screenshot, and then I went into the video and it said uploaded 6 days ago. And when you have the red bar that shows that you've actually watched it already, I took a screenshot and I did a thread. And I said, guys, it may seem corny, but when people are asking you that, if you genuinely like the content and you want to see more regularly and you don't want to miss it, obviously you have to genuinely like it. Press that notification bell, because if not, I kid you not, YouTube would not push your content unless you're a favored creator. It's just a fact, because there's some big boy creators that I don't have their notifications on, and boy, I get their content flooding in feed and inbox all the time, So it's that's just one aspect of the algorithm. Yeah. And like, to add to that, the conflict in me is so confusing, because some of the diverse videos that I've done to the channel that are away from my main niche have actually been performing better than my main niche. All my talking head discussion videos that I do on smartphones now, which I call the acapella series, there's a great playlist there. Go check it out. Shameless plug. There's some great topics that I feel that I've brought out and how I've done it, where I think is quite engaging, that will share a different topic. I don't think those videos have done anywhere near as well as when I did my PlayStation versus Xbox video. A lot of my camera discussion videos that I'm doing now, and all the latest things that happen in the camera industry, are getting way more natural, organic traction than my smartphone discussion videos, even though my channel is mainly always has been around smartphones. You see, so that conflict comes in where you're thinking, well, is it really sensible for me to then branch these stuff out onto a separate channel? It's like it's tough, man. It's tough. I can't lie, it's tough.
I think some of the reason why some of your videos might be performing better than your niche videos is because of timing. Timing means a lot on YouTube. You dropped that PlayStation versus Xbox video a few days ago, right before the Xbox game showcase. So obviously, a lot of people have PlayStation versus Xbox in their mind. We're all gearing up for these next generation consoles. So anybody that's dropping a video about a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, they're probably going to get a lot of views right now, because it's pretty much at the top of our mind. Especially PlayStation just did their game showcase in June. Microsoft did theirs a few days ago. So yeah, those are right at the top of our mind. So I expect those to get a lot of views. So that makes sense. Shout out to those of y'all that are watching the podcast live today. Thank you for hanging out with me and my man, Lover of Tech. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for always showing out and supporting the podcast. If you would like to support and donate to the podcast, you have to opt in the super chat. You can become a channel member, or if you don't want YouTube taking 30% of your super chat donation, buy me a coffee. That link is in the description. None of this stuff is required, actually, but anything that you're willing to contribute, greatly, greatly appreciated. Shout out to those of y'all listening on audio only today. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and my man, Lover of Tech here. Appreciate you guys on the audio. If you want to go check out Ben and his content, his link will be in the show notes. Definitely go on there, check him out. Also, if you want to support or donate to the podcast, check out the show notes. All that information will be down there as well. Not required, but anything that you're willing to contribute, greatly appreciated. Probably more important than that, though, is if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, I need you guys to go leave a rating or review. That helps more people discover the podcast and help Apple push out the podcast more, especially since they're updating the way they push out podcasts in iOS 14. They're now going to suggest podcasts. They weren't doing that before. So it's definitely important for you guys to leave that rating or review so the podcast can be pushed out on Apple Podcasts so we can get more people in here. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys rocking on another episode of VypDrive. We take a drink real quick like Ben here.
Gotta keep hydrated, man. Promise you that. Makes all the difference.
I've told them for 2 years, if you're gonna live stream, make sure you got something to drink.
Yep. Look, I finished one bottle. I got another bottle here. Trust me, I'll go through that for fun.
Definitely. If you guys want to check out Ben's YouTube channel, Janosen should put it in the chat. So definitely go check it out if you're watching the if you're watching the podcast. Definitely.
Appreciate
All right.
that,
So you were just talking about the camera industry. So you one of these people that kind of change cameras on the fly. I can't keep up with what camera you're using at any given time. So what camera are you using to do your videos right now?
That's a wrong misconception, you know. I don't change cameras that often. That's a wrong misconception. I'm going to clarify that now. Yes.
So you're saying that I got you mistaken for technically T. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. And this is a good one that you brought up. So I can break down my camera history and length of time of use on per system. So right now, shout out to Fuji. They sent me the Fuji X-T4, which is their latest high-end mirrorless hybrid camera that shoots photo and high-end video. I got to send that back tomorrow, but I'm finally buying my own personal camera, which is going to be the Fuji X-T4 on Tuesday. Ooh, so I can really, if you guys think I'll be pushing out content regularly, you're going to be getting more now. I've got my own personal stuff. Now, before that, I got the Sony A6300 from September 2018 time. I've done a couple of vlogs on it as well. Nice playlist that shows, you know, my gear update through the process. Had a decent time with it, but there was a lot of workarounds with that camera, overheating, not having a flip screen, great autofocus, great 4K quality, but it's a camera that needed a lot of workarounds. Then I upgraded to the A6400 in September last year. So really enjoyed the camera for the price. I think it was a worthwhile upgrade in terms of not better quality, but from a usability standpoint, it was a more usable YouTube camera. It had a flip screen. It didn't suffer overheating. It had unlimited recording, but near enough, it was the same quality that I was used to having, you know, but minor usability problems where there was micro USB. You still don't have a headphone jack where you could listen to your audio to make sure your audio sounded good. And then COVID happened, other things happened. I had to sell my core camera gear and then managed to get Fuji to send me an XE3 that really revamped the channel because I was on like a 3-month break because I didn't have anything to record with. And then I really liked what their system was offering. They sent me the upgraded one and it kind of put the rubber stamp where you don't really get the opportunity to try out the camera that you're thinking of buying, then trying it out for like a month or two and thinking, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm going to go with it. And I know that it's my money worth spending. Before then, I was using the Panasonic Lumix G7. So I remember you've used the G7 for a bit.
I have, yeah.
So I had a G7 for a while. I had it for like a good year. Yeah, I had it for a good year. And unfortunately, it melted. I had a dummy battery in there that killed the camera. That was the only reason why, well, it killed at the right time because I just was not happy with the fact that it didn't have autofocus or good autofocus at all. So it killed at the right time. I managed to get, you know, refund from the dummy battery that I bought that killed it, whatnot. So I just put that money towards the Sony. I love that camera, but that camera, I didn't like the fact that as a YouTuber, not having autofocus was just a pain. It was just a pain. It was just a pain. I didn't. And then my first proper camera, because when I first started doing YouTube, the camera I was using was my iPhone 6s Plus. So the 6s Plus was the first, you know, so this is another thing. Yeah, start with what you have. It works. Use your smartphone if you have to, and just spend like maybe $50, £50, and just get a good mic for good audio. Good audio matters way more at the beginning than absolutely blistering video quality, right? That's just word of advice, my opinion. And then I moved over to a DSLR known as the Nikon D5300, and it was a great DSLR. It was a great DSLR. I had a great time with it. And that's been my camera, but each camera system I've had within 4 years on YouTube. I've had at least 4 years, and the change has been a change based on a relevant reason, not necessarily based on, I don't know, I'm bored of it, but it's been like a strategic, calculated reason why I'm switching, and not just because I talk a lot about cameras. I respect a lot of what cameras are doing from different manufacturers. I critique them equally, but I don't easily just jump for the sake of jumping over. If that makes sense.
Time out. I want to go back to what happened with the dummy battery because I've been using the dummy battery for like what 2 years with my 873. So what happened with that? Like you said it melted the camera.
Yeah, so it was a fault. It was a faulty dummy battery that I got from Amazon. So I was just using it, and then I was using it as I thought I was meant to be using it. It's USB based dummy battery from the G7, and then smoke just started coming out the camera, and it just obviously there's an auto shut off in there that shut it off. So I literally just contested it all the way with Amazon because it was a prime product, and I said it's a safety hazard, yada yada yada. I took it to a camera repair store. They vetted it. They gave me a receipt. They put all the diagnostics in there. They said how much it was going to cost to replace. Sent it to them, and I got my money. It's like you killed my gear, and because of the gear being killed, it gave the opportunity of okay, do I want to buy the same camera, or is there an opportunity to get something better? Right. You know, that's why I switched system. Yeah, so it was one of those.
I know some people are aware, but some of them might not be aware. But for one day, I did own a Sony A6400. I owned it for a day, but then the opportunity arrived for me to get the A73, and I jumped on it. And I haven't looked back. But yeah, I owned the A6400 for a day. So yeah, that's a pretty good camera. But yeah, you kind of scared me when you said a dummy battery like fried the camera because obviously I'm using a dummy battery for these live streams. I have it plugged in the power, and I have the dummy battery in the camera, and that's how I've been going. I mean, I've gone 8-9 hours at a time live streaming. So don't tell me about the dummy battery messing with the camera.
No. It was just about like I still. So one of my friends, bless him, he gave me his A6400 to use as a stopgap before I buy my main camera, and I still have the dummy battery for the A6400, and it's never ever given me a problem when I used it for the 6300. To the 6400, so it's a non-issue. It was just an outlier situation that happened at the right time. I didn't suffer any penalty in terms of cost. I got my money back. There was a stopgap where I didn't have a camera. Like, you know, it was just one of those things. It's just one of those things.
So you just broke down your camera history. I didn't hear anything about Canon in there. So am I safe to assume that you have never used a Canon camera?
No. I've actually never ever used a Canon camera for myself personally.
Okay.
So I think for the type of camera system I enjoy, which is APS-C, Canon, in my opinion, for hybrid cameras that are more accessible for us YouTubers, I feel they've not made a camera that suits my needs for me personally.
Gotcha.
Yeah, all right, especially as someone that enjoys having a good 4K image, I feel like those cameras within that league hasn't really appealed to me that much.
All right, so I'm not a big camera nerd, so I don't know too much about cameras. Obviously, I know how to use the basics and things like that. But you just said that you prefer APS-C for your cameras. Now, we obviously know in the camera world, there's APS-C and then there's full frame. Obviously, the camera that I've been using for the past 2 years or past year and a half or whatever is the full frame because I got the A7 III. So I'm curious, why is it that you prefer the APS-C over the full frame sensors?
So it's a mix of how big the sensor is versus the actual system, the camera body itself being not too big, not too small. It's the happy medium. So there's three sensor sizes. Full frame is like the industry standard for measuring everything to you. Then APS-C, then micro four thirds, which is what you find in the Lumix G7.
Right.
So I felt that micro four thirds, the smaller ones in the G7, the sensor was. I have nothing against them. I made a great video called Dear Lumix, another shameless plug of what I think they need to do to bring the GH6 out versus the GH5, which is probably one of their best micro four thirds cameras to come out. So I have nothing against micro four thirds. I just feel like APS-C is a nice medium middle, and I like that system. And history has shown that if you're more video focused, I'm going to say this again, if you are more video focused, it's always better to go with a camera with a slightly smaller sensor that will be more reliable, has less overheating issues, will give you more creative video options. So more creative video options that will make your video workflow a lot more fun and enjoyable. If you're someone that is more photography based, as in photos is your main thing above everything else, and you just happen to sneak in videos all the time, sometimes where you're not trying to get the most creatively looking videos, right? You're just trying to tell a story to aid your photography. Try and go in full frame straight away. What is good now is that the bridge between full frame and micro or smaller sensors being good for video, that line is getting blurred, which is great. All that basically means is it's going to be less confusing for anyone new or even us existing guys going forward if we want to pick a particular type of camera for both video or photos, or even if we're more video orientated or photo orientated. And less confusion and an easier buying decision is always a good thing. So that's the best way I can explain it.
Oh, I need to go back. I need to rewind because, like I said, I'm a camera noob, so I don't know as much about cameras as you do. But you just said something that kind of perplexed me, so hopefully you can clarify. You said that APS-C cameras offer more creative options than full frame. How can you explain that to me? Because I would have thought it would be the other way around.
No, so your A7 III has a bigger sensor, full frame, which is great from a technical point of you can have more low light performance, and your lenses, if your lens says 50 millimeter, that's the exact focal length that you're getting, right? On an APS-C, if I have a 50 millimeter lens, it is technically a 50 millimeter lens. I think this is where people mess it up. A 50 millimeter lens on an APS-C camera is technically a 50 millimeter lens, but because of the sensor makes it look like a 75 millimeter lens, right? It makes it look further than it actually is. So that's the difference. Full frame, you don't have to do any mathematical calculation of, does this lens give me this look? If it's 50 mil, it's 50 mil. It's less confusing, right? But your camera has less creative video options. So for example, your camera only shoots in 4K 30. You can't shoot beyond that. My Fuji X-T4 shoots in 4K 60. So I've got an extra creative option. So if I wanted to give a different look creatively to my video, the fact that I have that option to shoot at 4K 60, that's another creative option as a creator that I can tap into if and when I need. If, let's just say, I wanted to do super slow motion, your slow motion on your camera goes up to 1080p 120. My camera goes up to 1080p 240. So creatively, if I'm in a situation where I want to get 10 times slow motion, I can do that. You can't. So creatively, you're a bit more crippled than I am. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's all the benefit of the smaller sensor. Doesn't generate as much heat. It doesn't require as much power. It doesn't require as much energy. It doesn't require a bigger body to do all of those things. So going smaller, you have more power. You have more of a power headroom to put more features without compromising the experience. So that's what I mean about creative options. Having those options makes, when you as a creator, you want to do certain things to help your story making or your storytelling, you can tap into it. Whereas most of the time, the bigger sensors can't do that.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think you're right. I think when I set the camera to shoot in 4K, I think 30 is the limit. I don't think there is a 4K 60 option on the camera. So you're right about that.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Ooh, see,
hopefully that's a good explanation.
Definitely. See, this is why I love this podcast. I get to talk to people like you. I get to learn stuff. This is what's up, man. Like, because obviously, the reason why I got the A3 is because all of the major YouTubers were using it. I'm like, all right, it must be something to the camera. Everybody's using it. So I'm like, let me get it. And I've had nothing but a good experience with it. I love this camera, but I never really thought about, something like a A6600 or A6400 will give me more of creative options than the A7 III. I'm like, this is the big dog. Like, what is he talking about? But when you explain it like that, it makes sense because you're right.
Yeah. So it's why I like APS-C. So I'm not a fan of a camera brand. I'm a fan of a camera system. APS-C, I'm just such a big fan of the capabilities of what that system allows and what you can do with it, especially more from a video perspective. And this is what I mean about when you're going through your creative process, you start discovering what type of creator are you? What do you like? What do you prefer? And when you can own that and you can embrace that, it makes your decision making for how you want to create and the type of gear that you want to buy and you want to budget for a lot easier. So you really need to nail that thing about you so that it's easier for you to enjoy the process more.
Yeah, I mean, as being a creator, I mean, it's definitely important that you have the tools that you need and you know what you need to provide the experience, the filming experience to your audience. Because obviously, if you don't know what you need and you don't understand how to use what you have, then you're kind of like you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're definitely not doing your audience any favors. So yeah, you make very good points. The man is living up to his name, lover of tech. I like.
I appreciate that, bro. Trying, man. I'm trying.
Ooh. Where do we go next? So, you know what? I gotta get back into the whole console thing with you because we had such
do it. Before I start asking questions.
And I put out a whole dissertation on Twitter this morning about how I'm not a big fan of Xbox Game Pass. So let's talk about Xbox Game Pass. So, like I said, I put out a whole dissertation on Twitter this morning about how I am not a fan of Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass is, I mean, I understand in pro consumer, like we were talking about on Friday, because it gives you as a consumer the chance to pay all these games, like over 100 plus games. You pay $15 a month and you're good. It's a lot like Apple Arcade in that way. You pay $5 a month, you got access to like hundreds of games on Apple Arcade, this, that, and the other. But the issue that I ran into with Apple Arcade is that I had a favorite game. I think I was playing like one game on there. I had a favorite game, and when I decided to stop paying for that service, I didn't have access to that game anymore, and I couldn't even buy the game like outside of Apple Arcade. Now I know on Game Pass is different because you can pretty much buy any game you want on Xbox outside of Game Pass. But if I'm playing like an RPG or something with Xbox Game Pass, and maybe I'm like 50, 60 hours into the RPG, but I'm just tired of paying for Xbox Game Pass, unless I buy that game outright on Xbox, when I'm done with Game Pass, I have no more access to that game. And it's just lame because, I mean, if I only want to play like that one game, and I gotta pay for all these other games that I'm not playing, and if I like a month or two go by, if I'm not playing any games, but I'm still paying for Game Pass, then I don't understand. It just doesn't do it for me. But again, if you're a big time gamer and you're playing all those games, then you need that access. Then yeah, cool. But for me personally, I just don't get it. And the real problem I have with it is that Microsoft is positioning it as the reason why you should buy an Xbox Series X, and I just feel like that is the complete wrong way to go about it. But Ben, what are your thoughts since you actually had Game Pass on PC?
Yeah, so everything about Game Pass, I do agree with it. So if anyone can correct me, if I'm more than happy to. But Game Pass is not just obviously the monthly subscription of selected games. Mm-hmm. What it does enable is a discount on buying certain games outright. So I know there's certain exclusives on Xbox with PC that through Game Pass, the Game Pass offers for owning that game outright was a lot cheaper. And I did appreciate that. So it is very prosumer. What we discussed on Friday is that the business model that Microsoft is going for is it's very software driven, mm-hmm. and it goes beyond hardware. The reason why I say that is that because of Game Pass, I had no incentive to buy an Xbox system. I didn't. All the core Xbox games, Forza Horizon, Motorsport, Gears, all the Xbox exclusive games, I had it all on my PC. And to be quite frank, I was probably getting a better experience on my PC at that time because I had a GTX 1080. You see, so for the fact that I was getting a much better gaming experience on an Xbox exclusive game than an Xbox itself, there was no way you were going to turn me away. I had an Xbox controller that I kicked back, connected via Bluetooth instantly, like I would do. I was getting the full console Xbox experience. Do you know how much of a console experience I was getting? Cross-platform. Me and my younger brother that lives in Canada, he had an Xbox. We played Gears online with each other because it worked on PC and Xbox online at the same time, where you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if I was on PC or Xbox, which is fantastic. That level of software accessibility of not, cutting and putting walls around is great. I loved everything about that. But from a business model standpoint of owning hardware and systems, that gave me no reason to buy an Xbox. I had zero. No matter how good the Xbox One X technically was as a console versus the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, which it is, I had no reason to buy it because the core games that I wanted to play were being given to me on my PC that is a very versatile system that I use for my content creation. And then when I want to relax, play my games on there. You see, and none of the games that were on the Xbox system was so exclusive that I couldn't play on my PC, where it was not the same for the PS4. So it's so prosumer that it's almost too prosumer. And my only question is that are Microsoft spending way too much money on hardware R&D for them not to give people enough of an incentive to have to buy the system? That's my only question. That are they being a bit too nice in giving consumers everything from 100% backwards compatibility, Game Pass, and all of this, where why are you then spending so much money on making the most powerful consoles generation back to back to back, which we all know consoles get sold at a loss before later on down the line you start breaking even, then you start making a profit? You know, why spend all that money on making these consoles so good if no one has a reason to buy it? That's my only question. That is
Can
it.
you repeat that for the people in the back? Can you repeat that for the people in the back, please?
Why? Let me pick up the mic. Why spend all that money on R&D to make the best technically designed consoles generation back to back if you give no one the incentive to actually have to own it? Not want to, have to own it. Let me put the mic down. I said it.
So much wrong. Now, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ben, but are we or are we not at a point where we are trying to sell next generation consoles? Are we not at the crux? We are, right? Maybe I'm confused. I don't know. But it seems to me like there is a PS5 on the horizon. There is a Microsoft Xbox Series X on the horizon. But it seems to me after watching that Xbox game showcase this week that Microsoft is more they're more focused on their software platform as a service and all this crap, as opposed to selling actual hardware units. Yeah. And even like you said, they're almost too prosumer when it comes to these next generation consoles, because they even said that if you have an Xbox One or Xbox One S or whatever the case may be, One X, whatever, you don't have to worry about buying an Xbox Series X for 2 years, because every game that comes out for the next 2 years is supported on the older Xbox consoles. Can somebody please explain to me how the hell is that supposed to sell me on an Xbox Series X if I can play it on an older Xbox?
It's not. It won't. This is what I mean about. I know this is the stuff that we should be celebrating, and it should be celebrated because obviously they are being very consumer friendly. They're looking at the current situation with people's financial situations not being that great, and we all know that even a month of financial difficulty can set you back, let alone what 2020 is basically a whole year of financial uncertainty. So we know that the backlash of recovery might take a couple of years. So when we look at it from that streamlined aspect, everything Microsoft are doing is great. I want to get that out there, but they can do both. If you look at Apple's business model, Apple business model is they do both. They always incentivize you to still want to get the hardware first, and then everything else is tied into it after. So the fact that they can still support a phone like the iPhone 6S from September 2015, which is getting to 5 years old on the latest iOS 14 software, but will still hook, line, and sinker you first to get their new hardware, it shows that it can be done. What my concern with Microsoft is that they're not doing that. They're pushing the software ecosystem so far forward as the main selling point that actually how great the hardware is the last priority in your mind. And I'm speaking from my experience as someone that can easily justify buying every new tech, because I can not just enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it and appreciating it, but I can make stuff for the channel to help the channel grow. I can justify it. I had no reason to get an Xbox One X, even with how great it was. I had no reason, zero. You couldn't convince me to buy it.
It's so funny because obviously when we were all together on Friday, I was talking about how the PS5 looks to have more exclusive games that make you want to buy a PS5 over the Xbox Series X. And I have my man Tech King Mike said that how exclusives don't matter on Xbox. People that play Xbox don't care about exclusives because they care about playing with each other and things like that. That's all good and well. But I'd argue you don't care about exclusive because you don't know what a damn good exclusive is because you ain't had one in like what 10 months apparently. I heard that Microsoft had not launched a AAA exclusive for the Xbox in 10 months. Like what?
Yep.
What? I mean, I'm sorry. If you want to differentiate your console, if you want to make your console appealing to potential buyers, you need to give them a reason to buy the console. Like I keep harping back on this over and over again.
Yeah.
That Xbox Game Showcase showed me no reason why I wanted to go out and buy an Xbox Series X, especially with Microsoft saying that all of their games that are coming out will be supported on older Xboxes for the next 2 years. So if you already have an Xbox One X or Xbox One or whatever, why would you buy an Xbox Series X if all the games coming out can be played on your current console?
You're not going to be in a rush. You're not going to be in a rush, and you're not. And that showcase, Microsoft dropped the ball so hard because they missed the chance of the second mover's advantage. 1, 2, they have already come out and said games like Halo Infinite were running on a PC dev kit. That's not the issue, the fact that it was running on a PC dev kit, but the build of that development software it's a very old build. That's why the graphics didn't look good. And I'm sorry, when your main headline is we've built the most powerful console for this generation, but yet you can't show us how powerful it is from even the initial titles, then Sony are doing that. I'm sorry, you don't convince anyone, even the ones that care about graphics to the ones that don't, to get sucked in when Sony are making even their classic IPs like Ratchet and Clank on their newer consoles look phenomenal. And that's a platform game. That's a cartoony platform game. And they're showing the power of, simultaneous wall jumping where there's no load times and new lighting techniques and that's a platform game. The
Ratchet and Clank game that Sony showed off at the PS showcase can only be played on a PS5. It is not even possible on a PS4. That is the type of stuff I'm looking for. I want reason to buy your console. Trying to sell it to me as a games as a service does not work. We are in the next generation of consoles. You are going to ask us to shell out $500+ for your new box. Why should I shell out $500+ for your new box if I can't get any exclusive experiences that can only be had on that box? That makes no sense. Juan nailed it on the head. He says that he really thinks the Xbox console is basically a Trojan horse for Xbox as a service. That is exactly what it is, and that is why I have a problem with it, because that does not convince me to get an Xbox Series X if you're just trying to sell me Xbox as a service. I don't care about that. I want unique experiences on the Xbox Series X. And as of today, I have not seen anything on that system that is unique and it makes me want to go buy one.
And I agree.
It actually makes me want to go pre-order a PS5 like right now.
Bro, I agree, where I think for the first time, as us being the spearheads of being consumer friendly and holding companies to be more accountable, more transparent, more consumer friendly, I think this is probably one of the first times where I can say there is such thing as too much of everything is not good. And even too much of being absolutely consumer friendly, I think is actually a bad thing. I'm so shocked that I'm actually having to utter those words, because it probably goes against everything that I should stand for. But I honestly do feel like Microsoft are being way too consumer friendly with their business approach. I get their end game, but I still feel like they can still do what they're doing now, but actually make the frontline experience the other way around, and them spearheading the frontline experience as being this, hey, you don't have to rush. Hey, everything works at the same one, even back to the first generation Xbox, before the 360. All of that sounds so great, but it's like you're going too far right with that, and you don't realize it, but you are actually making people forget that you technically have the better console, but you're making no one care about it.
Exactly. This is literally
I don't care for it.
This is literally a double-edged sword for Microsoft. On one hand, they have an install base of Xbox One players right now that are probably not going to go migrate to PS5 because they can play all their games for the next 2 years on Xbox and not have to worry about anything. So they're probably going to stand put. However, again, we are entering the next generation of consoles. You need to convince me to buy your console. And right now, I'm all in on Sony and PS5. And I'm not the only one who feels the way. There's a lot of people. There's even Xbox people who are echoing my same sentiments.
Yep.
And they did not feel any reason to get an Xbox Series X. So if you got all these people that are going to rush out and get a PS5 this year, that is less people, less bodies that will be buying an Xbox Series X. That means less bodies that will be potentially buying into your Xbox and the service business model. So if you can't sell the hardware, the service business model doesn't really it doesn't matter if you don't have the people in your hardware. So they're cutting off their nose to fight their face with this whole services and the business model monkey crap when Sony's about to be selling millions of consoles out the door this year because they understand that the focus should be on games and showcasing the PS5 power.
And where I agree with you is this. Let's harper back onto the showcasing of the next gen consoles. Honestly, Microsoft started doing it better. They were doing it so much better to the point where they gave a YouTuber like Austin Evans a chance to dissect and look at the console. They were putting their best foot forward so hard. We were all looking at Sony and laughing at Sony because all Sony could do was reveal the PS5 logo.
Right.
Let's go back. So it made us more worried that are Sony actually gonna drop the ball this generation? Only now for us to be like, nah, they've got this. At least from the beginning standpoint, Sony have got this because now Microsoft are looking kind of like they don't know what they're doing. Their first game showcase, they had to apologize because it was misleading. Then Sony did theirs, and when Sony did theirs, everyone was like, yo, Sony, man, you did the hardware reveal, you shocked us with an all-digital edition, which appeals to me. I've explained why. You know, like there's so much that Sony did that made everyone's heart be put at rest for them dragging their feet at the beginning where they were only showing us a logo that looked the same as before. Then people were doing redesigns, making memes that you get paid as a designer for Sony to just make the same logo. So many things, right? They came around, the hardware reveal was better. It was conflicting in a good way where it looks futuristic, it looks like a router, it looks like this, but it engages you. It's capturing an audience to how the design look. Then the controllers get in conversation because it looks like it's a real attempt of a generational forward of how a controller should behave, but still keeping something that we're familiar with, so we're not too detached and intimidated by it, right? Forward thinking, but still with the foundation of what we know a games console controller should be. Great stuff. And then you bring out an all digital version that makes you feel like, oh, this is gonna be, it looks even nicer, it looks more up to date to the modern age, because anyone that buys a physical disc game, it's not like the days of old with the PS2 and the 360. You still have to install extra downloads, so you can't. So it's like it makes you feel like, why am I buying a disc if I still have to download a chunk of the game to still play it? I might as well just sit in my home, preload the game when I pre-order it if I want to pre-order it, and then the day that the game goes live, I can just play it straight away without having to queue up or go to the shop in the comfort of my house. You see, so Sony are doing all of these to kind of bridge you into the next generation of what gaming should be in terms of an all digital, instantaneous live download experience. You see, and then they show like the first party peripherals with the headset and stuff. And then apart from that, the games, Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, Ratchet and Clank, Miles Morales, like you're getting first party games where you're like, is this what they're starting with? God damn, like I know games that they're gonna remaster because it's bridging from PS4 into PS5. Your Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, so many games where you're thinking for sure they're gonna bring that into PS5. That's gonna be sick to play. And then the games that I know later on down the line, maybe Detroit Being Human 2, you've got Gran Turismo coming, you've got God of War coming, where you know that it's gonna come when they drop it. It's like all those things as a true game. Like I'm even getting goosebumps talking about it. You get the gamer jingle, and where you're thinking like, yo, I want to put my money in that because the gaming side of things is gonna trigger me to want to pick up my pad, turn on my PC. Let's go. Let's go. And Microsoft is not giving me that feeling. I want that feeling. And they're not giving me that. They're not surprising me with intellectual IP property games that are coming out of nowhere that we don't expect to the ones that we do expect but have been re-envisioned, like God of War. We've all seen the initial God of Wars from, you know, the PlayStation to the PlayStation 3 and how they were played, right? And then when they did God of War, I always say this, go back and watch the E3 reveal trailer for how they showcased the God of War game for PS4. I still get goosebumps when I watch it because they just reinvented everything we knew about Kratos and that storyline. And that just like, I was like, man, Sony, how do you keep doing this? You know? So that's my opinions on it, man.
I'm telling, man. And the other thing that we don't know this for sure, but we know that the PS5 been coming with a disc version and a physical digital version, excuse me.
Yeah.
They're going to be the same system, only one could be have a disc drive and the other one will not have a disc drive, it'll just be all digital. From all the talk that we're hearing about the Xbox Series X and its digital edition, it's going to be underpowered compared to the disc edition, which is just like, really? So if I want to buy the all digital edition of the Xbox Series X, I'm losing out on frame rates and resolution potentially because that's not a thing with Sony. The Sony selling the same system, just different SKUs. Microsoft is selling two completely different systems because one is powered like maximum and the other one is lesser powered because it's digital. Like what? What? How does that work?
So the only way that's going to work is the price has to be so much lower that you have to have a very hard decision to make on going from the Xbox Series S, which is known as the Lockhart, to the all digital edition of the PlayStation 5. I've said this based on gut feeling that all digital edition PS5 is going to be the dark horse of the next gen consoles. Because again, like you said, you save money on not having a disc, but you get the same graphical performance. Whereas the Series S, yes, you save money on not having a disc, but you're losing graphical performance. Apparently the CPU performance will still be the same. So things like NPCs, AI, all of that stuff will still be very, very good, right? But you are losing the graphical performance. So then the question is, I'm not getting a complete next-gen experience. I'm still getting a next-gen experience, but I'm not getting a complete next-gen experience. Do I feel shortchanged? The only way you're not going to feel shortchanged is if the price is so competitive where you're like, well, damn, the price. So long as you can instinctively just say, well, the price, you know, and they lock you into the software ecosystem that they're creating, that's going to be the only way. If they don't do that and they make people think that I might as well spend, if the minute you have someone saying I might as well spend that extra bit of money and get the all digital edition PS5, then they've lost.
It's over with. Seriously,
they've lost. That's me personally.
Now, obviously, price is going to play a big factor in this next generation console sales and things like that. But if there's an Xbox Series S digital edition, which is underpowered compared to the Series X, and the PS5 digital edition is sitting there, and even if the Series S is a lower price than the PS5, if it's $50, $100 cheaper, but the PS5 will give you madly superior graphics and things like that, I'm going PS5 digital even with the higher price. It's just what it is.
I'm still leaning towards it because the initial titles and the future titles that we know of and the unpredictable titles that Sony will bring out that will shock and excite us, I'm still leaning more towards the PS5 or digital. Yes, I do agree. Honestly, there has to be a good price delta. And I say a good price delta has to be between 120 to 150, not 100, not 100,
not 100,
120 to 150. There has to be that price delta where it's like, yo, that's a price delta. That's a price delta enough for me to have 3 games or 1 game, 2 accessories, or 2 games, 1. Like, there has to be a price delta where it's enough for me to have an additional core accessories that will make the complete experience in that ecosystem work well. And if there isn't that price delta where someone in the sell shop can actually say, look, I know that you probably pay a bit more, but actually think of it this way. You buy a Series S, I can bundle you 2 controllers and 2 games for the same price as an all digital edition before you have to spend extra money on the controller and the games. Oh, actually, you know what? I like that. When you can let people pitch it to you from a logical standpoint, that's where they can win. But if they can't, and someone has to say, you know what? I think personally, spend a bit more and get the proper next gen experience. If you're getting people on the front line saying that to consumers, they've lost.
Man, it's about to be interesting real quick. And we're already at the end of July. We're going into August. The systems are supposed to be out by November. So we got 3 months from August to November. So whatever Microsoft is holding on behind their back, they better bring it out quick. Otherwise, Sony might massacre them. I don't know. I mean, obviously, both of these consoles are going to sell out when they go on pre-orders. Obviously, I mean that's without question. But right now, like I keep saying, right now, I mean, Sony just looks more compelling. I mean, I don't know, and Sony, Sony looks more compelling, and they have the underpowered system, and they still look more compelling. So I don't know.
I just want to play as Black Spider-Man, Miles Morales. That's it. You don't think I'm joking? Let me give you the breakdown.
I'm right there with you.
My son's 5th birthday, my son's favorite superhero, Spider-Man, right? And on his 5th birthday is when Into the Spider-Verse came out. On that day, took him to go watch it, and me and him were so gleed up to the point where, you know, when what's Miles Morales' uncle? I think the Prowler, in it. When his uncle died in that scene, and he had his Uncle Ben moment with his uncle dying, I shed a tear. I cried. I won't lie to you, because that storytelling was so deep. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking like that, and from then you notice how Miles Morales started getting the recognition that he deserved as a superhero and a character. And he finally came out of the shadow of Peter Parker Spider-Man, to the point where even how the Peter Parker Spider-Man game ended, so many people were looking forward to Miles Morales. Spoiler if no one's played it. So many people are looking forward to Miles Morales getting his shine. And then Miles is now getting his shine on the next generation console, where he's going to look better than, you know, Peter Parker. Come on. What? I want to experience that. I think
it's safe to say our buddy Ben.
Like, I can't express how Sony has got me emotionally sucked in and ready to want to play.
Anybody I can feel you. We can feel you, baby. We feel you.
Like it's crazy, man.
I want to bring up this point real quick before we go. Juan says Sony's definitely going to sell more boxes, but by the end of the console gen, game streaming is going to hurt Sony bad. I don't know, Juan, because I don't know if we're going to be in a place where streaming is going to matter at the end of the console. I mean, we're still like trying to get 5G here, and it's a slow process. So if we can get 5G into the home by the end of the console gen, then I might see that. But right now, I'm not too sure. I don't know if the internet's going to be there yet. I don't know if it's going to be there.
I don't think it will be on a global scale. Even with Western worlds, even like if UK internet connection in UK is poor, it's still so bad. For a Western country, we are so behind when it comes to data connection, and like it's unbelievable.
And gamers don't like latency at all. Yeah, I don't know.
I would like to agree with you, Juan, on that one. But even with how strong the Western world is, there's still a lot of Western world countries that either don't have the infrastructure, will not have the infrastructure by 7 years time, because a console generation is somewhere between 5 to 7 years,
right?
And they don't have the business model that is consumer friendly enough for people to have the affordability to have the best connection at an affordable price or an accessible price. You see, I'm in the nation capital and I barely get fiber. The fragmentation in terms of fiber optic packages and access is so fragmented that I've got people in rural areas that get gigabit, but me in the nation capital, gigabit is a dream. Gigabit is, if I experience gigabit, trust me, I'm under, if anyone's watching Inception, I've been put under the drug. I'm in a dream within a dream experiencing gigabit. That's how deep it is. Sorry to say. So I don't know. That's me.
No doubt, man. No doubt. All right, let me make sure I get this right. So, Ben from Lover of Tech.
Yeah.
Excellent conversation, man. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you.
No, thanks for having me, man. It's been fun. Let's do it. I'll have you over on my show as well.
Appreciate you. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, so I am superly active on Twitter. So Lover of Tech BA. That's LOVEROFTECHBA on Twitter. All is one word, @ follow me there. I'm super active. If there's any updates outside of YouTube, you'll be seeing me there. Instagram as well, lover of tech _ BALOVEROFTECH _ So you'll find me there 100%. And youtube.com/lover of tech, all is one word for the custom URL. At the minute, I am pretty much putting out 3 videos a week with live streams every Sunday. My live stream show is known as the Tech and Chill Show Unplugged. So usually I am streaming around there, UK, British summertime, or GMT +1, 10 p.m., 9 p.m. So come join and Tech and Chill. I will be there in the next few hours. That's me, man. That is me. So come vibe. You know, I try and just bring, my motto is bringing enthusiasm to tech. So that's my thing, man. Bringing enthusiasm to tech. So hopefully I can vibe with you guys and you guys can vibe with me as well.
That's right. We need more enthusiasm in tech. Definitely. I can appreciate it. I can personally appreciate that.
I know that for sure, bro.
If you guys want to go check out Ben, you're watching, Jonathan, the Jefe and Peyton channel link in the chat. So definitely go check him out. Thank you guys for watching the live stream today, watching the podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you donated, brought me a coffee, became a channel member, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Jeff for Joy. I just got the notification that you brought me a coffee. So thank you, Joy, for that. I appreciate you all hanging out and supporting. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you guys rocking out for another episode of VypDrive. Tomorrow, we have a double hitter, man. We got a heavy hitting double hitter tomorrow. We got the Colonel Singala himself, Border Working coming. And then after him, we got the OG Droid Modder X Shane Starnes is coming tomorrow night. So we got a heavy double hitter tomorrow night. So definitely come back for that. Gonna be lit. Shout out to those of y'all listening on audio only. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. I appreciate you guys supporting each and every episode of the podcast. If you want to go check out Ben from Lover of Tech, make sure I got that right. Ben, not Lover of Tech. It's Ben from Lover of Tech. His info will be in the show notes. Definitely go down there, check out the show notes. I appreciate you. No doubt, no doubt. Also, if you want to support the podcast or donate, those links will be in the show notes as well. Not required, but anything that you're willing to contribute, greatly, greatly appreciate it. But more importantly, like I said earlier, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I need you to go down and leave that rating or review so more people can discover the podcast and we can get back into the top 200 of tech podcasts. I'm still trying to get back into that top 200, man. We were there. We got kicked out. I'm trying to get back into the top 200 of tech podcasts. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating or review. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. But until the next time, people, this your boy Viper, the man about tech. You know where to find me. So come back for more.